Hi guys, so today I'm going to be telling you how to do well on the analytical writing section of the new revised GRE. I did my GRE exam about a month ago and I got a 5.5 out of 6 on my analytical writing score. I was really happy about this and yeah, I just want to share my knowledge of how to do so well. Okay, the first thing that I think is really important in doing well on the GRE is learning the essay prompts online. Online on the GRE website, they have like a bank of 200 different prompts that you could be given on the GRE, and these are really good practice. I would go through about 5 of them and just practice how you would answer them. Replicate testing conditions, like each section is 30 minutes each, and I think it's really important if you actually take the time to practice. Like for me, when I did mine, I only did one practice exam, and it was with the Power Prep software that they give you, and when I did mine, I totally did horrible on it. I ran out of time like completely. But yeah, when it came time to the exam, I actually did pretty well. So I think that practicing a bit, not actually writing, but actually just going through the prompts online really helps. Okay, second thing. I think a really good thing to do is learning more complicated versions of simple words. So, for example, instead of saying healthier, say more salubrious. I know for sure that I made this change on my GRE. I wrote out my whole essay, and then afterwards I kind of proofread it really fast, and I saw that I wrote healthier. And then I'm like, what's a different word for healthier? And I wrote more salubrious. And honestly, I think it really increased my score, even though it's just one change. Yeah, so basically the GRE really wants you to be a human thesaurus. So knowing words that are more complicated is actually a good thing. So here are a couple more examples. Instead of saying shy, you can say taciturn, or reticent, or laconic. Instead of saying rude, you can say sardonic, scathing, caustic, acrimonious, or petulant. Instead of saying sociable, you can say garrulous, gregarious, or loquacious. Instead of saying poor, you can say impecunious, hoi polloi. Hoi polloi just means the common people in Latin or something. Plebeian, penury, squalor, or vagrant. And also it's really important to recognize like root words in words. Like for example in the poor words that I told you about, a lot of them had words starting with a P, like penury or pecunious. So there's a lot of commonalities between words and their meanings. Okay, and just another example is instead of saying loud, you can say stentorian, or you can say vociferous. I think it's also important to know opposites of words. When you're learning new words, it's really good to group them. So like for example, all the words that mean the same thing should go in one group, so when you hear a word or read a word, you'll automatically associate that word with other words that of the same meaning. Another good way is learning opposites. So for example, instead of saying mercurial, which means changeable, you can say static or imperturbable. You can say husband or frugal, and the opposite of that is prodigal. Abstemious, the opposite is voracious. And then even learning words that are similar in meaning, similar in sound but different in meaning, like deft and daft. Daft means completely stupid, but deft means intelligent. So yeah, I think it's really good to learn words in chunks. Okay, number 3. Um, Number 3, I wrote on my piece of paper, learn your logic. It's really important to know your logic for the argument task. And don't worry, it gets easier the more you practice, and actually it's not too hard. I find it a lot easier than the issue task, because the issue task you have to think of new things each time, but the logic task, usually they're pretty much the same fallacies in each argument, so it gets really easy after a while. So I'm going to go through an example with you right now of just a one sentence little one-liner phrase of an argument. So here it is. A recent study confirms that smoking causes lung cancer. Okay, so that is our sentence. On the GRE, you will not be given a one-sentence argument. You will be given an argument that has about 8 sentences in it. And each sentence will probably commit at least one fallacy. So you'll have a lot of place to work with. So yeah. Okay, so with this prompt, I found 3 different fallacies. Okay, and I'll go through each one with you. Okay, number 1, first thing that I found at the very beginning of the sentence was the words a recent study. Okay, when they say anything about studies or anything about research, you should be asking yourself questions about this. So, who conducted it? How was it conducted? Who participated in it? What were their age, gender, race, marital status, socioeconomic status? Where did they live? All these questions. Was it published? Was it peer-reviewed? Is it valid or reliable? All these things are not substantiated in that claim. So, definitely this is a fallacy. Okay? Number 2. Number 2 is a classic case of causation. They're saying that smoking causes lung cancer. Okay? Nothing is ever so definite. Nothing ever causes something to happen on a 1-to-1 ratio, ever. There's always more variables involved and more influences. So that's definitely another fallacy. Okay, and number 3, they must define smoking less vaguely. So when they say, a recent study confirms that smoking causes lung cancer, what type of smoking? They really have to define that variable, especially if they're talking about it. Okay, so if you were to read this prompt, and now that we went through some of the fallacies within this prompt, I'm going to go through with you how you would actually write this on your exam. Okay, so when they give you a prompt like this, first thing you're going to do is always state the claim. That is like probably one of the number 1 mistakes people do in the analytical writing section of the argument task, and that is really important to do. Okay, so number 1, in the first sentence of your paragraph, of your whole essay probably, you're going to say the claim of whatever you're scrutinizing. So in this sentence, they're claiming, this is their claim, okay? They're claiming that lung cancer is caused by smoking. You have to write that in your essay or else you'll get marks taken off, okay? So make sure you always state the claim. Okay? And then you're going to follow through on that through the rest of your essay, and you're going to state why their argument is unsubstantiated. Okay, so in our case, there were 3 things wrong with their argument that were not substantiated. And substantiated just means that there's no evidence. Okay, so number one, the research authority of this study is unsubstantiated. Number two, they are demonstrating a classic case of causation. And number three, they are using undefined variables. So when you write those out, put each one in its own paragraph, and at the beginning of the paragraph you're going to say which fallacy is committed, and then after that you're going to provide examples of why it's a fallacy, like what we went through. Okay, so yeah, I just have some extra little fun facts about the GRE, and here they are. Okay, so number one, the longer your essay, the more the probability that you'll get a higher score. Okay, so that means type fast. If you think you're a really slow thinker, don't worry, you'll probably be a fast thinker on the day of the test. I thought I was a slow thinker, but when put under pressure and when actually in an actual GRE situation, you're probably going to think fast. So don't worry too much about that, especially if you ran out of time on the practice test like I did, because you'll probably do well. Number two, you do not need to know the formal names of each of the fallacies. Knowing the names will probably be beneficial to you, but it's not absolutely necessary to know these fallacy names. So don't worry, like for our example of causation, I'm sure there isn't actual formal wording for that, but just saying causation is totally fine. Okay, number three, the best way to get a high score is to plan everything in the very first 2 minutes of writing. Okay, so in the very first 2 minutes, you are going to read your prompt. They're going to give you a prompt for either for the essay or the argument task, and then they're going to give you a question. Okay, so within that 2 minutes, you are going to read this prompt and the question, as well as write out and map out what you're going to write for your essay. So in the GRE Testing Center, they're going to give you a booklet full of scrap paper, and what you're going to do is you're going to write out an outline of exactly what you're going to say in your essay. Okay, so it's really important to follow through on this outline and make sure that you're following your outline really well. That way you'll get a better essay. Okay, number four, write in whatever order you'd like. If you like writing your essays in the standard format of introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion, do that. If you like writing your essay with the body paragraphs first and then going back to your intro and then finishing with your conclusion, that's totally fine too. When I was studying for my GRE, I read in a couple books that it's better to write your body paragraphs first and then go back to your intro and then finish with your conclusion. I think that's good if you're a really slow writer and you're afraid of running out of time, but for me, I always like to start with the intro. I don't really know why, but I feel more comfortable starting like that, and I think it also gets my brain working and thinking about what I could say later, because I'm starting with such a broad open topic and bringing it into a more detailed one within the conclusion. So doing that really helps me to think out what exactly I'm going to say for the rest of my essay. And also in the GRE, with the computer-based version, you're able to cut and paste anywhere you'd like. So it's not a big deal if you want to write a paragraph at the very end to save for later and then just copy paste it into the part of your essay where you want to paste it in. So yeah, don't worry about that. It's really good that it's actually on the computer because a lot of people are fast typers, and it's a lot better than having to write out everything and erase things and leave enough space for whatever sections you want to leave last. So yeah, being computer-based is really good, I think. Okay, so that's it for my video on how to do well on the analytical writing section of the GRE. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I hope you really do well on test day. I'm expecting you to get no lower than a 5.5 out of 6. Good luck! Bye! Thanks for watching!